Okay, so first of all, when they log in when they go into the website, this is what they see. There will be a lot of resources that they can, look at from the website. So currently, if you do go into the website, you may notice that a lot of this content are very SSG centric, but not to worry. There will be an update that will be made to the portal in due time before, and it will be ready by the 10th of October to make all this content less SSG centric to cater more for WOG onboarding. Okay, so if let's say there are any content that is actually only specific to SSG TPs, it will be made clear that these are only relevant for SSG. Okay, and at the same time, if TPs actually require more guidance to actually perform the transactions on TPGateway, they can also look for self-help guides under the Who We Are section. So if they click on this, they will see that there will be two types of self-help guides. One is the transaction-specific self-help guides, and the other one is the program-specific self-help guides. Okay, so what's the difference? Okay, so transaction-specific self-help guides will be those that is very related to how to perform the transactions on TPGateway. So these transactions are meant to be very generic, no matter which agency the TP is transacting with, SSG, IMDA, IBF, or WSG, they will be able to use this set of transaction-specific guides to run through how to use the functions on TPGateway. Okay, so these are meant to be generic. And then secondly, we have a program-specific self-help guides. So this will then be very specific to each agency. So for example, for IBF, there will then be a section for IBF to upload all these program-specific guides. And if there are any special instructions that you would like your TPs to follow through, you can actually put in those information within this program-specific guides. And then you can direct your TPs to the guide to actually refer when they are performing their transactions. So currently, if you go into TPGateway website, you won't see these two pages. Currently it's just a single self-help guides page with no segregation between transaction or program. Okay, so this will also be an update that we will be making to the portal before the go live. Okay, so once it's 10th of October, when TPs go into the website, they will be able to see these two different types of self-help guide page, and then they can extract out the guide that they would like to refer to when they are performing their transactions. Okay. And then next, in order for them to be able to log into the portal, they will need to make sure that they get the CorpPass permission. Okay, so there are two types of CorpPass permission for TPGateway. The first one is the TPGateway admin. Okay, so TPG admin, and then the second one is TPGateway user. Okay, so the first one is the admin. So this admin will automatically be able to access the user management tile on TPGateway. So later on, I will show you what this tile does. Okay, and basically this person is supposed to manage all the users' permissions, which tile, which function can they see, etc. Okay. And then the second one is a generic user. So this user will be able to perform transactions on TPGateway based on the permissions within TPGateway that they have. Okay, so the TPGateway will actually configure the user permission for these users. Okay, so for example, maybe there is a user that it only perform transactions relating to course applications. So the TPGateway admin can then just provide this user with permission to the course application tile. Okay, and then this user, when they log in, they can only perform transactions within that tile itself. They won't be able to do any other transactions for those tiles that they do not have permissions. They do not have any permissions. Okay, so for each organization, okay, it is also important to note that they need to have at least one TPGateway admin. Okay, the reason is because if they only assign all users with TPGateway users, then nobody will be able to go in to configure the user permissions. Okay, none of these users will actually be able to log in without the TPGateway admin going in to help to set up their accounts and configure their user permissions. Okay, so it is important that each organization will have at least one TPGateway admin to be able to set things up for the remaining users, so that the users can then log into TPGateway subsequently. Okay. So if let's say the TPs they have any questions or difficulties trying to assign the CortPass on the CortPass portal, do get them to check the CortPass website. There are some self-help guides available for CortPass, because this assigning of CortPass permission can only be done by a CortPass administrator. Okay. So it must be someone from the organization who can log into the CortPass portal to then assign the permissions to the remaining users in the organization. Okay. All right. So once a user gets the CortPass permission set up, okay, then this user is ready to log into TPGateway. So they just have to click onto this button, log in with SingPass. Okay. Then select TPGateway, and they will be able to log into the website using either the SingPass app by scanning this QR code or logging in using their password key. The reason why last time, if you recall in the past, before the CortPass did a revamp, they actually have to log in with their CortPass credentials. But since last year, I think in April, CortPass and SingPass have kind of consolidated. So the CortPass is linked to each individual SingPass. So as long as the CortPass permission is tagged to this user's SingPass NRIC ID, then the user will be able to log in just using the SingPass app or the SingPass password. So upon successful login to the portal, if this organization is a new organization, I mean a new TP logging in for the first time, okay, without any organization profile set up, okay, then they will need to fill in extra details like the address and the contact details of the organization. But if this is an existing TP with a profile migrated, then this page wouldn't appear for them, okay? They will straight away, okay, get into this post-login workspace. Okay. So this is how a workspace will look like when the TPGateway admin logs into TPGateway for the first time. Okay. You will see that everything is logged, okay, and except for the user management tile, as well as another tile called FMS. Okay. The reason why this is not logged is because this is actually a redirection to another public website called the Funding Management System. But this website wouldn't be applicable to most of the IBF TPs. It's just a public website that is relevant to some of the other training providers that is also hosted within, I mean, not hosted, that is also with a link from TPGateway. Okay. So what the TPGateway admin needs to go to as the first, at the first login is actually the user management tile. Okay. Okay, to actually configure the permissions for themselves and also for the other users who are granted with the TPGateway user CortPass permission. All right, but before we go into that, let's take a look at some of the features in the post-login homepage. Okay, so if you look at the top right-hand corner in the post-login portal, they will see that there are some of these icons here. Okay, so the first one is actually a quick navigation to the other tiles. So while a user is performing transactions in other tiles, and maybe they are currently in the course application tile, and they want to do a quick navigation to the enrollments tile, they can just click on this icon here, and then select the tile that they want to jump to. And the second one is a bell icon. So this bell icon is like the TPGateway inbox for each user. Okay, this place is where they can find all the in-system messages, in-system notifications relating to their transactions. So as and when a TP submits like a course application, or they submit like a bulk upload to enrollments or assessments, there will be some notifications that is sent to them to acknowledge their submissions and also to update them if, let's say, the course is being approved or the course is being rejected, or if there is any actions required from them, then all this will actually go to their TPGateway inbox. Okay. So one thing to note is that there is no emails that will be sent to the TPs. They will have to come into this in-system notification to check for any updates to their transactions. Okay. Okay, and the third one is the profile icon. So when they click on this, they will see this drop down. Okay, they can navigate to the different pages. So they can go to my profile to edit their user profile and also to check what is the user permissions that they have. Okay, so this is very useful in case they are not too sure which how can they transact in. They can come in to check because even if they can see a tile, sometimes they are only granted with a read-only access. So then they may come to you and say, oh, I can go into this tile, but for some reason I can't create a new enrollment, for example. Okay, the reason may be because they are actually granted with a read-only access. So they can go in, they can read everything, but they just can't make any amendments, they can't submit new records, okay, because they don't have full access. So sometimes they may think that it's a system error, but it may just be because that they don't have the right user permissions. So this is where they can actually look at what is the permissions that they have for each of the tile. Okay. Okay, and of course, if this TP organization is a huge one, there are like sub branches to the parent company. Then if this user may be granted with access to multiple branches, and they may want to switch to another branch while they're performing transactions. This is also where they can then do the switch. They can come to the profile icon and then just switch to the other branch that they have permissions to. All right. Okay. So now that we have looked at the post login features, let's take a look at how we can go into the user management tile to create new users and also to manage their access rights. So they click on the tile. Okay, so do note that only TPGateway admin, those users with this TPGateway admin pass permissions will be able to see this tile on their first login. Okay, if they are a TPGateway user, they don't get this, they don't get access to this tile by default, but they still can get access to this if the TPGateway admin provides them with the permission thereafter. But by default, only TPGateway admin will get access to this tile. So they click onto this tile and this is what they will see. Okay, so they can create a new branch for their company. Okay, and they can also create new user. Okay, so let's try to configure an existing user's permission first. Okay, so for example, today I want to configure user A's permission. So I just have to click on this. Okay, and let's scroll all the way down because the picture is pretty long. It will have like the details of this user as well as the full list of the permissions that this user has. Okay, so at the end of the page, you will see there's two buttons. One is deactivate user. So this button can be used when, let's say, this user has left the organization. Okay, although the pass permission would automatically be removed if this person is no longer with the organization, but as an additional step and for housekeeping purposes, the TPs may want to deactivate this user. Okay. And by clicking on this, then this user profile will just then become inactive. Okay. Okay, but today we want to edit this user details, so we click on this button. Okay. Then we will be able to configure the permissions to this user's permission to the various tiles. Okay, so for example, I want to provide this user with a full access to course registry tile. Okay, so I can just like click on this and then select full access. But other than full access, there are other permissions as well. So first of all, it's the default one, no access. So when no access is selected, this user will then see the tile being locked. Okay. If it's a read only, that the user will be able to go into the tile, can view all the details inside, but just cannot submit, cannot edit. And then full access is the one where they can view and then they can also do anything within the within the tile itself. Okay, so there's three types of user permissions. Okay, so once it's configured, then just click on the save button. And then upon a successful update, okay, there will be a banner that appears at the top that says user A has been updated. Okay. Okay, so this is then how the post login page will look like for a user that has the tiles unlocked. Okay, so they will be able to see all the functions available here. Course runs, enrollments, attendance will all be available for the user to click into. So now, after we have learned how to configure an existing user's permission, let's take a look at how they can create a new user. Okay. So for users that have TP Gateway admin permission, they don't have to create profiles for themselves. It will be available when they log in. But for TP Gateway users, the TP Gateway admin will have to first create the profiles for these users first. Okay. Because if not, even if they have a pass permission, this user still can't log in to TP Gateway. Okay. So to create a new user, click on the Create New User button, and then fill in the name, the ID. Okay, and this ID must be the one that they use for their SingPass, and it's also the same ID for CorpPass. Okay, if there's multiple branches, then should also indicate which branch is it that you are creating this profile for. Okay, and also the email address. Okay. And then you can configure the profiles, the permissions for each of the tile, and then click on Save. Okay, similarly, the same three permissions. So once you have clicked on the Save button, there will be a banner to say that user C has been updated. Okay, and then this user C will then be able to log into TP Gateway because now this user would have the CorpPass permission plus a profile in TP Gateway. And then based on what is the permissions that have been configured, this user C, when they first log in, they will be able to see the tiles that, the tiles will be unlocked based on what the TP Gateway admin has configured for them. Okay. Yeah, so then it will appear under the list as well. And then the status should be active. So if let's say the TP Gateway admin decides to deactivate the user, the status will then be indicated as inactive on the page here. Okay. All right, so some points to note. Okay, to log into TP Gateway, the user has to make sure that they have a valid TP Gateway CorpPass role. So it's either the TP Gateway admin or the TP Gateway user. But do note that each organization should have at least one user with the TP Gateway admin CorpPass role. And then for those users who have been granted with TP Gateway user role, then they need to make sure that the TP Gateway admin creates a user profile for them within TP Gateway under the user management tile, which was what I just showed earlier on. Okay, so the TP Gateway user can only log in to TP Gateway after this profile has been created. Okay. And then the second point to note is that for this group of TP Gateway admin, okay, they will be able to access the user management tile by default, and that is the only tile they can access when they first log into TP Gateway. Okay, and they are able to also manage the access rights for the users across different branches. If let's say their organization has more than one branch.